After 9 months, my sweet, beautiful relationship with my first true love ended today. Staying with you is harder than staying without you, he said, as all my past mistakes reared their ugly heads. I'm shattered and left questioning, can we truly come back from this? We were together for approximately 9 months. We had the best relationship. Our relationship surprised both us and everyone around us. We were classmates back in the 6th grade 2014 and shared the same group of friends, but we never interacted much. Later, I changed schools and he did too, yet our friend groups remained connected. We would occasionally see each other and exchange a few greetings. That was the extent of our conversation. I always found him somewhat rude and never observed him with any girl, but I used to think he was a playboy and a bully back in school. Although he never bullied me, I witnessed him bullying other kids. This was the primary reason I did not engage with him much. I used to be the quiet girl in class who didn't have many friends, was shy about talking to people, and fit the type that someone would want to bring home to meet their mother. I preferred to stay low-key. I received a lot of attention from boys. I am not bragging, I am simply stating facts that are somewhat important to mention. You will understand why. Almost half of the class confessed to having feelings for me at one point in their lives. I dated some of them and rejected the others. I was never particularly attentive to relationships. I would lose interest in most of the people I dated within a month or two. I dated quite a few individuals because of this habit, mostly from the mutual friend group we both had. I was often involved with boys but did not take them seriously. I would sometimes reconcile with my exes only to part ways again. My academic pursuits were my main focus, and I viewed relationships as a way to pass the time. This will be a bit lengthy, but it is a very important aspect of my current situation. However, you can skip it if you wish. Essentially, I was in a very abusive and toxic relationship before meeting my current ex. In 2022, when I was having the best time of my life, surrounded by a great set of friends, thriving both academically and financially, fit and looking really good, I had the perfect relationship with my family. Basically, I had everything. Then I entered into a relationship with a guy who did not meet my standards. Everyone around me warned that he was a red flag, but I do not know what changed in me as I became completely lost in this relationship. It might have been due to my childhood traumas, given that I have an abusive father and a generally toxic household, but my being this way surprised everyone around me. I had never prioritized relationships in my life, yet I somehow remained in this relationship for 2.5 years, even while experiencing physical and mental abuse. I lost all my friends, became distant from my family, began failing continuously in my exams, and lost so much weight that I looked ill. The guy would occasionally hit me in public and verbally abuse me, even if I went to charge my phone without his permission. He would take money from me even when he saw that I was struggling. He would stay on the phone with me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because he doubted me for no apparent reason. I molded myself to his preferences, dressed as he wanted, deactivated all my social media accounts, and provided him with my passwords. I was not even allowed to go out with my own mother. I became completely detached from everything and everyone and was only connected to him. He would break up with me over the silliest issues. For instance, if I went out without his permission, I would beg him to stay because I feared being left alone, having given up everything for him. I was so exhausted that at one point in the relationship, I started cheating just to escape. I thought maybe cheating would make me feel better. I had never had sexual intercourse in my life but engaged in other activities with guys. I created a fake account solely to interact with some of my friends and talk to other boys. That was when my reputation began to decline as well. I transitioned from being the girl who was hard to get to being labeled as promiscuous, a term everyone used to describe me. I was going mad and did not think twice before acting. I returned to my exes and approached new people. I did everything. Most of my indiscretions were with the same group of friends, the group I had in 6th grade, almost 5 friends from that group. That is where I made my biggest mistake. I lacked the conscience to understand that guys talk, especially if they are friends. You can skip this section too. I will only describe how I entered my current relationship. I finally left that toxic relationship in 2024 after discovering that the guy had been cheating on me the entire time. 4 months after breaking up with my toxic ex, I met my current ex, the one I used to be classmates with in 6th grade. One night, he suddenly followed me and I felt a sudden urge to text him. We chatted for a few hours and we clicked immediately. It was a pleasant, friendly conversation. We met the next day, and by the 4th day I remember it vividly. It was the most magical experience I have ever had. We were sitting on a rooftop at night talking and he looked at me and said, "I really want to kiss you," and then we kissed. It was so sweet, a small kiss, but it felt like fireworks. I am literally tearing up as I type this. After 10 days of conversation, we entered into a relationship. I was the first girl he ever approached for something serious. I was his first relationship as well, and the only girl he fell in love with. Prior to me, he only engaged in casual relationships or random hookups because he believed that being in a relationship would slow him down and hinder him from achieving his life goals. He was extremely confident and had a great sense of humor. He rarely thought with his emotions and preferred to suppress them, the type of guy who had never cried in his life and usually distanced himself from problems. He was overly practical and rational in everything, yet somehow he could not think straight when I entered his life. He was the guy I always prayed for, ticking each and every box. He bought me flowers, kept me close, couldn't keep his hands off me, and did everything to make me happy. Our first 3 months went smoothly, but after that, everything began to unravel. I lied about my shameful past to him. I admitted that I had cheated and explained why, as well as how I had been involved with some of his friends. He knew that before we entered the relationship, just not the details. However, I distorted the timeline of my interactions with them and omitted some significant details. I was unaware that they talked so openly about their exes or hookups in their friend group. When people found out we were dating, especially in his friend group, they began speaking negatively about him. He came to me repeatedly asking me to tell him everything that had happened so that he could handle it better when he heard about it from others. Yet I took months to disclose everything. I would provide half-truths or lie about the details, and when he heard things from them, he would ask me about it but never received the answers he sought. I vowed not to repeat my past mistakes in this relationship and never did anything wrong to him. However, because I had distorted my past, he could no longer trust me. He attempted to break up with me, but somehow we would get back together. He was the first man I ever had sexual intercourse with, as I was certain about him. I always wanted to have that experience with someone I loved and trusted. At one point, I became pregnant and had to abort the baby, and the day after the abortion, he left me again. He struggled to deal with the situation but returned once more. I also drained him significantly by consuming his time. I pushed him for attention when all he needed was some space. Each time he needed space, I panicked and bombarded him with questions. He distanced himself from his friends and family and fell behind in his studies. His previously well-structured life fell apart. The relationship he had been proud of was shattered because of me. He gave me many chances to improve things but never saw any progress on my part. I did not have many friends and lacked self-respect. He did not want to be with someone like me. He told me he could not trust me until my mindset changed. Even during our breakups, he would say he would wait for me. He instilled so much hope in me that he would help me with my anxiety and overthinking. According to him, if a person can lie about one thing, they will feel comfortable doing wrong by others too. At one point, he even cursed me, calling me a whore for my past behavior. He later apologized, stating that he was not like that and that I had made him act this way. He told me I should feel guilty for ruining a person and a beautiful relationship. When we were together, he would force himself to be good to me to the extent that I would be shocked when he asked for a breakup, as everything seemed fine on the surface. He once cried in front of me because he was so hurt. The guy who never thought twice began to overthink everything. We broke up again today. He expressed how the problems never leave his mind. Whenever he looks at me, the things I did with other guys come to his thoughts. He acknowledges that he is overthinking but does not know how to cope with it anymore. He loves me and truly wants to stay in touch but believes that being with me is harder than being apart. He feels some things are simply unfixable. I agreed to the breakup, but we plan to communicate and meet in a casual context. In these 9 months, there has not been a single day when we did not talk. I informed him that I needed a break from him to focus on myself and would reach out later when I felt ready. I assured him that I would return and ask if he wanted to be with me again, to which he replied that if he felt he could trust me again, he would want to be back with me. I have a strong intuition that this break is much needed, as he has never experienced what my absence will be like. He fails to recognize the good things I have done because he is so focused on the negative aspects. He may appear tough on the outside and speak rationally, but he admitted today that he is suffering internally. I have read numerous success stories online, and I feel like this can be our case too, but I am heartbroken and do not know how to handle this. I am constantly blaming myself for ruining something so beautiful and for how I will cope with it. Story 2. Caught in a love triangle at 24, I'm torn between the girl I've adored for years and the ghost of her FWB Jason. He's like my brother, she cried, yet my heart races at the thought of losing her. Can I trust that she won't cheat like her mom? The clock is ticking. This is essentially a stream of consciousness, so I will just dive right in. I have been communicating with this girl who also has had a friends with benefits situation. We are both African American, were very close friends before we started talking, and have gone on more than a couple of dates. After our most recent date, she asked if we could stop by her apartment to have a serious conversation about something that had been on her mind for a while. This is not new. We have known each other for a good 3 years, and I regularly visited her every month before we began talking in this way. Upon arriving, she invited me inside and allowed me to rummage through her refrigerator while we discussed various topics. Then we got into the main issue. She began to explain that she had been in a friends with benefits situation with one of our other friends, named Jason, for a while now, and that although she is very interested in me and would like to advance our relationship, she is not willing to end things with him because they have known each other since they were children, essentially labeling him as her best friend. She informed me that she had not met up with him in that manner since our second date. I put second in quotes because we have been on numerous dates, but that specific one was the second since we began exploring a more intimate relationship. She then gave me some time to process this information. Honestly, it was somewhat surprising because while she does not hide her personal life, she often refrains from discussing personal matters unless directly asked. There was also no indication of her and Jason being intimate. They interacted completely normally with each other, no extra touches, no glances, no sudden smiles, nothing at all. I must have made some sort of expression because she appeared to sag a bit and mentioned that if our relationship becomes more serious, she would be entirely fine with setting limits on their interactions. She also clarified that while she does not expect me to feel cheerful about being around him, she hopes I can at least be cordial. Again, these are only expectations if we decide to make things official. As she started sniffling and became teary-eyed, she emphasized that her feelings for me are genuine and that she truly wants to officially call herself my girlfriend. However, she understands if I no longer wish to pursue her. I cannot stand to see people cry, so I kind of caved and held her for a bit while she calmed down. After a few moments of silence, I asked her to give me some time to think it over. She responded, "Yeah, of course," and escorted me out after we separated. Before anyone starts expressing concerns about the possibility of her cheating if I get together with her, let me clarify that she would not. She is strongly against cheating and frankly despises the concept in general, which is a result of her mother having multiple emotional affairs, one nearly becoming physical behind her father's back during the last years of their marriage, all in the name of keeping food on the table, paying the bills, and feeling wanted. Those are her mother's words, not hers. One memory she recounted when revealing all of this was in high school, when she literally saw her mother secretly meeting up with one of the men at the neighborhood park, which also served as the bus stop. She did not provide many specific details about her father, but she mentioned that he would often call her mother derogatory names and initiate screaming matches in front of others to embarrass her. It was a toxic marriage all around. Interestingly enough, her parents' abuse was never directed towards her. Her mom was physically and verbally abusive toward her dad, and he in turn was verbally abusive toward her mom, yet they made sure she knew they both loved her in every way that matters. The one time she remembers getting physically hurt was when she blocked her dad from being hit by a ceramic mug that her mom threw at him, which ended up smashing against the wall near her face and cutting her cheek and shoulder. She still has the scar as a reminder. They remained together for about 20 years, with the last few years solely due to her mother developing lupus and having burned all her bridges with her own family. They are currently separated. She maintains limited contact with her dad and no contact with her mom, only really speaking to her dad on his birthday or during family events. The point is, Jason was there for her throughout all of that. I mentioned they have known each other since childhood, and that is not an exaggeration. Their parents were friends. They attended the same daycare, elementary school, middle school, high school, and even the same college until she was involved in a car accident that forced her to take most of her courses online for the remainder of that semester. They have stuck together like glue throughout all of their lives. Jason supported her through nearly every significant event and milestone before I came into the picture. Whenever her parents would have screaming matches, he would walk or drive to her house to provide her with an escape. When her parents were late to her graduation, guess whose parents showed up in their place? His family often comments on how they see her as a second daughter, though they do not know about the friends with benefits situation, and I hope it remains that way. Therefore, I completely understand why she refuses to cut him out of her life if we become more serious. He has been her best friend since she could talk, and she has only known me for 3 years. It has been a week since our conversation. While I have not addressed the topic with her again, we have been discussing other issues, effectively avoiding the significant elephant in the room. Our friend group took a trip to the beach over the weekend, and I felt a pang of jealousy every time I saw her interact with Jason, which interestingly was not much, as she was almost glued to my side the entire day. I even had to tell her it was perfectly fine to mingle if she wanted to. She brought it up once during the trip, and when I politely but firmly indicated that I had not yet made a decision, she immediately backed off and changed the subject. I am honestly feeling somewhat indifferent about the entire situation. Yes, I am uneasy knowing that the girl I am head over heels for and her best friend were once involved sexually, but at the same time, I am not as bothered as I thought I would be. I am an avid reader of various relationship scenarios and have encountered many stories where relationships deteriorated due to a friends with benefits situation, often thinking, this outcome was so predictable. However, now that I am in this predicament myself, I find myself focusing on how much I truly like her and the possibility of losing her to a guy she has known for most of her life. She has clothes at my place, half her skincare items, the essentials at least, plushies, and the last time I went to her apartment, I noticed how bare it appeared because most of her belongings are already at mine. She is a genuinely sweet girl and an amazing best friend. I cannot accurately express how drastically my life would change if she were to leave. She's the type of person you could call at 3 a.m., ask her to come over, and she would arrive with a bat in one hand and a container of cookies in the other. I just do not know if I need to take the rose-colored glasses off and see the reality, or if I should kick myself into high gear and make our relationship official.